So I can't really say that my journey or my path, journey, that word, my journey as a content creator. I can't really say that it's been the same. I feel like when I sort of entered the scene, it was probably around 5 years ago. I think there was a gap for, without tooting my own horn or anything, I think there was a gap for someone like me.
Someone like me, very humble choice of words.
Well,
what is someone like you, Chloe?
Like there are other me's, right?
I still don't get it.
There are people who fall under my sort of like demographic, who are maybe like, again, not, I'm trying not to like make this sound like I'm like being boastful or something, but I think I am quite well spoken. And I think that was definitely to my benefit. The whole thing, and I said I didn't want to answer a question like how did you get into gaming, but the whole reason I initially got into gaming, and call it maybe unfair, I don't know, but the reason I got into it was because there was a streaming team looking for a female streamer.
Okay, so there was a specific demand for in a role,
they wanted to like dilute their situation a little bit, introduce some sort of dynamic, like interesting dynamic, I guess. So I can't say that it hasn't benefited me, because that is a very clear benefit.
Sure, but it doesn't encompass your whole skill in being able to practice it.
So it's like that could have happened, and I could have started streaming and kind of like not gone anywhere with it, not gotten any work from it. I still had to do heavy lifting on my side. It's not to say that I didn't get help. I definitely got help. A lot of people have assisted me. But I still had to put in the work, and deal with like the failures, I guess, and like the successes and whatever. It's still me at the end of the day that's responsible for my work ethic and like my what I put out and how I make decisions on sharing and stuff.
So you don't make your are you okay with me calling it your job? You don't make your job about your looks, or you don't necessarily weaponize your looks to gain all the potential benefits that come with pretty girl privilege. And I respect that. Not to say that I don't respect people who do, but there's obviously it's not a black and white thing. You got to see how you use it and the potential that it has on your audience, because at the end of the day, there's a little girl or a little boy out there watching you who's going to want to do what you do, But just to follow up on that question, my second jalapeno in the sauce is, how do you feel about streamers who do weaponize their looks? And I'm speaking more specifically in regards to females, because it's more apparent in females than it is in men. Like if I go on Twitch, without even like searching too far, I could find 3 girls licking an ear. I could find two half naked girls in a hot tub talking about something that is completely unrelated to being half naked in a bathtub in an apartment somewhere. And so there's a lot of this sexualization of females because you get a lot of money. And I'm not saying Twitch is only fans, but they play in the same realm of things when it comes to how you weaponize your look. So how do you feel about that?
Just on your last point, a lot of people see streaming as the precursor for an attractive woman to OnlyFans. Like a lot of people are like, when are you going to start an OnlyFans, and I'm like, it's not necessarily always the next step after streaming, So there is definitely, they do play within the same field if you are of a certain, I don't want to say it like market isn't the word, but I guess if you are of a certain age, you look a certain way, people just kind of assume that would be your next step or your next progression.
Because you're already doing live videos and you're attractive, so a lot of the average male is thinking, well, she knows this about herself, so maybe this is in her mind somewhere, and it's not necessarily always the case.
Yeah, so like I can't say that I don't at all weaponize or like utilize something that I may possess or have, you know.
Very very humble choice of words. I like it. I like how you say I may or may not use certain factors that I have in my arsenal to my no.
You know,
you like, don't you use your looks to your advantage, and that's fine.
Like to an extent I do weaponize, but for a couple of reasons I don't go too hard on that. These are the reasons. My primary sort of goal, or like the most interesting currency to me is reputation and respect. I know that's like so cheesy,
but it's true.
But it's like you'll get more out of that than, you know, being people thinking you're attractive. So I feel like there's more to gain from like respect. And it's not to say that it's not respectable that people weaponize their sexuality to the full extent or to a large extent. It's not to say it's not respectable. Mm-hmm. It's just like the currency that I'm interested in is reputation and respect. So it's like I do weaponize. Nobody can say that they... You know, I can't like hide myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can. Like, I don't have to have a camera. Yeah, but it's like that would be detrimental to my growth. You know.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be doing myself any favors.
And it's not like, a sin.
Yeah.
To be attractive.
Right.
It's not a bad thing that if you switch on a camera, you are more attractive than the average person. Like, I don't think people should feel bad when they advertise their looks. It's like you're born with this face.
Look, it's like if you play piano and there's a piano in the living room at this holiday house you go to, or like a family, I don't know, like where do you go, you know? Mm-hmm. You go on holiday and there's a piano there and they're like, oh, you know, like it would be nice if there was some music, and the piano is the only option, you know. Are you gonna not play piano
because of the fear of people are gonna think I'm showing off or that I'm better than this? And then it's like, no, just go do what you're good at, what you're natural
at. Okay, don't be ridiculous about hiding something that you can use to your advantage. But the second reason why I don't go too hard on that is because I feel like I want to still, and I don't know if this is like overthinking, maybe it is overthinking, but I feel like I want to be valued when I'm not in like the space of like my looks being important. Mm-hmm. So like when I'm 60 years old, I still want to be valued primarily for other things. Yeah, I don't want people to be like, oh, she was pretty when she was younger, you know. Exactly. I want people to be like, oh, she was like funny or like smart, or
because you definitely
she works hard, you know. Like,
yeah, you definitely have a lot more to bring to the table, and most people do. So it is tragic that it does happen when you're obsessively focused on your looks, and that's all you advertise, that at some point you're not the young hot girl in the streets anymore.
And it's like you don't know how else to value yourself. Exactly. So you can't handle that, you know, it's not your time anymore.
Definitely. And that's a very good thing to point out, because a lot of young attractive people forget that time. You will not look like this forever. You will not always be fit to take care of your health. Like, think long term. What is the reputation that you want to have? When your kids have access to the internet, what do you want them to be able to see about you? Like, what is the story you're telling with your life that when you come to the end of it or at a peak, there's enough goodness that people can take out, other than just the one surface level thing, like I'm rich or I'm beautiful. It's exactly. Like, and what are you really crafting?
Yeah, it's like not at all to say don't enjoy those things. It's just like, just know that like with everything else, you know, eventually it's not something that you'll possess, right?
Exactly.
So it's just like focusing. I think I probably am too extreme in this regard. Like, I think too much about like the long term in that respect. You know, sometimes I should just like, you know,
be in the moment,
just be like
but has it crossed your mind though, and you can be honest with me, I'm not gonna tell anyone, has it crossed your mind, you going on Twitch and you're like, this girl has 50,000 viewers right now and all she's doing is sitting there in a hot tub, and I could literally make this much more money and take care of this bill, that bill, and the third, and it would just be so much easier. Maybe I should try to, you know, post a booty pic Has that crossed your mind ever, even in the slightest?
Yes, it has crossed my mind. I think when things get hard, a lot of people think about stuff like that. You know, it's like you don't want to sort of compromise yourself. And like, you know, a lot of these women, for example, men as well, but like a lot of these people are very, very comfortable with what they're doing, you know. But there are those people that are like feeling like they're compromising on themselves, you know, and sharing too much of themselves. So it's like, I've definitely thought about it, of course. Like, I can't lie to you and say I haven't thought about it. But I feel like I would exhaust everything else before doing something like that. So it's like
a last-ditch, desperate attempt because you have morals and you have values and you respect reputation.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't expose yourself like that unless you had no other choice.
I mean, also, if I came to a point where I was completely comfortable with it, where I was like, I weighed all the options and I was like, this is why I'm comfortable with doing this. This is why I'm okay with sharing this part of myself. So it's not to say it's like would be a desperate thing necessarily or like my last resort. But it's more like if I could be completely comfortable doing that, then of course, like, why wouldn't you want to do something that it's not, I wouldn't say it's easy. Like, I don't think that it's easy for everyone who does these things, you know. But it's like, why, if I was going to be earning a lot of money and it was clear, you know, why wouldn't you just do it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, why don't you just, you know, it's like just a kind of thought you have. Like, why don't you?
Because that's what I think. When I see a lot of this content, I'm like, she probably needs to pay her rent. She probably doesn't have a support system. She probably didn't have the privilege of getting a degree so that she could, you know, work in XYZ. And that's how I feel about a lot of strippers, prostitutes, OnlyFans, people who who sexualize themselves for money. My first thought is always, she probably has no other choice. But now I feel like we're stepping in and this is our generation now, we're stepping in a space where it's every other person's next door neighbor has an OnlyFans. It's not out of desperation anymore. It's out of I feel more confident showing off my sexuality.
Yeah, like people are much more liberal in that sense now. And also, you know, we can't sit here and like deny the fact that sex is like the best selling commodity in the world, right? We can't deny that. So if you have the ability to sell something in that field or in that commodity with that commodity's theme, you know, a lot of these people are actually just like smart and like have degrees and stuff, but are earning way more doing
that's
this
a good point.
Kind of thing, you know, and have no like issues like with community and supports or anything. They're just like, this is what's going to earn me the most money. I'm like an accountant, you know, but I'll still earn more.
That is such a good point to make, because at the end of the day, it comes down to cash is king.
Yeah.
Like, literally, if I slave away at a 9 to 5 and I get paid a quarter of what I get paid by posting a 5-second nude video on OnlyFans, I can take care of my kid, I can pay the rent, I can, you know, fly the family, work from home, do all these things, pay off my college debts and all of that. And it's like, actually, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
But is your reputation going to be intact? Are your kids gonna not be bullied in school? Because it's like, I know I've seen your mom half naked and I subscribe to her and I pay her tips, and you're a bitch and you're gonna sit there and you're gonna listen to my trash. And it's like, well, your mom took into account her reputation, but she chose survival. Yeah. And that's a lot of the decision.
It's like, my mom bought me a PlayStation though. What
exactly, you know, I'm still going to the Bahamas on vacation, you know, I'm still living a lifestyle. I still get an education because she's able to pay for all of that. So yeah, I think each and every individual person needs to question themselves before making that decision.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing it for? And are you happy with the repercussions? Are you happy with the pros and the cons?
Yeah, it's the same. I think it's the same sort of conversation. And I feel like maybe I'm backtracking a little bit because I don't think there should be such a strong stigma around it. You know, I don't do it because I'm not at this stage comfortable with doing something like that. I don't feel like it's a part of myself I want to share with everyone or with a lot of people. But we are, as you said, like, so many people have OnlyFans now. So is it really going to be a talking point in like, let's say 20, 30 years?
No.
At school, you know, are kids going to be like, oh, your mom, you know.
I feel like as long as there is nudity, children are bullies by nature. When a child doesn't understand circumstances or life, as long as there are children in the world and you're exposed publicly as far as like your nudity, I think there'll always be bullies.
Yeah, true.
But when you step out of the high school space, maybe that dumbs down because everyone's kind of like super woke and mature when it comes to understanding societal norms. But I think children still have that thing where it's like, ooh, look at Timothy's mom. She's on OnlyFans and I've got a screenshot. And it's still like, think about your kids. Like, what's your kid going to go through? Maybe he's going to develop perceptions about women because of that. And you don't know, like, there's a lot of factors that you just need to like be like, this is my life, this is how I want it to go, and this is what I'm okay with, this is what I'm not okay with, and then you deal with the repercussions, you know.
The same as making a decision on like whether you want to work in an office. Like, there are repercussions to like every decision you make. So it's just like, you know, if that's gonna be like the best thing for you, I think it's great. I'm like
you not particularly in that space. Okay, like, so that's fine. And I would consider you to be successful in that space because you've sustained it for so long. So clearly you're a better blueprint to follow than someone who doesn't know what they're talking about.
I mean, like in terms of making money, that is something that I think works for a lot of people. But for me, like, I'm very much interested in developing my sort of like presentation skills and like the hosting and filming presentation side of things. Like, that really fills my cup, you know.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it fills my heart, but like I realize how cheesy I'm being the whole time. It really fills my heart. You know, so I find that very fulfilling. Like, I don't think, and I'm just hoping that that's going to get me to the same place as like, you know, people that are making a lot of money on OnlyFans. I don't know. It's maybe unlikely, in which case I'll consider OnlyFans. But I'm just hoping that brings me to that place, you know, and that would be a win-win for me.
No, definitely. And just having that roadmap in mind will help you to move a lot more methodically. Yeah. As opposed to just impulsively making career decisions because of circumstances. Like, did you think in the long run though? Yeah. So I appreciate that you dropped that nugget in there, because a lot of people want to get into this, but they don't really have a long-term plan. And by long-term plan, I don't mean have it all written down to every detail. Just have certain goalposts, expectations, standards, so that you stay within that path, because it's so easy to stray here and there, because now someone's paying you a whole lot of money and you're like, okay, maybe I should expose myself a bit more, but it strays you out of the path that you initially were on as far as reaching that specific goal. Fulfilling that passion point that you've had since you were a child, and being able to make a living off of it. I think that's definitely the dream.
Yeah, like I think it does. I do hear of a lot of people who are very methodical about it. You know, they do it. They spend like maybe 1 or 2 days a week creating content, so that they can post every day, kind of thing. And the rest of the time they have time for their passions. Like, they can do what they want, you know. So it's weird. I think OnlyFans has actually been a blessing to us as a very conservative society, in that we're like, okay, this is actually a respectable thing, you know. There are lots of, like, as we said earlier, lots of like really smart people on OnlyFans just doing what they know is going to be the best thing in terms of income. So I don't know, like I could also change my opinion like tomorrow. Exactly. I'm not an expert. I'm not like
exactly. It's one of those things where it's like, just think about it and make the decision that works best for the lifestyle that you want, or the standards that you have for yourself, because it's definitely two coins to everything. OnlyFans, you can find this or you can find that. Twitch, you can find this or you can find that. Getting into a 9-to-5 corporate, you can find this experience or that experience, and it all comes down to your mindset going into these things. So that's cool. Getting back to your career as a gamer, streamer, content creator.
Yeah.
Do you think that the stigma of gaming is for boys, dolls are for girls, Call of Duty's for boys, and the Kardashians are for girls? Do you think that stigma is kind of a thing of the past now? Because obviously you're in a space where most people would assume it's guys who play video games, it's guys who go to Comic-Con, it's guys who, all this. Do you think that stigma is kind of played out and it's a lot more open for females, women, girls to come into this confidently? Because I know there's a lot of women who are gamers in secret.
Yeah,
they have an Xbox in secret. They watch this anime in secret, but it's not something that people are very comfortable coming out about because it's like, ooh, that's a boys thing or that's a childish thing.
I definitely don't think people should. Firstly, I don't think girls should be afraid of like saying that they game. I think there are two sides to this coin as well. Definitely. Yeah, like I'm just trying to think of how to phrase this, because there are a lot of guys who are super encouraging, or a lot of people who are super encouraging of females playing games, and they really enjoy playing games with females and like helping teach new people, not just females, or but just helping new gamers. It's their world. So at this same time, though, I don't want to not mention that there is harassment online of females. There are very two polarized sides of the gaming experience for females. I would be concerned about my daughter playing video games, because most people will be nice, most people will be helpful and kind, but there will be harassment, and there will be people who say the worst possible thing, to you, because they know you're sort of like maybe vulnerable or like new. So it is changing. It's not changing. It's not a thing of the past though. So like I actually watched a video the other day of like somebody, I think it was in the 70s even, as recent as the 70s, like 50 years ago, surfers being interviewed about what they think of female surfers. And these guys, like, don't quote me on this again, I'm sure the video is available somewhere, but these guys are like, I think it's like very unbecoming, and like these women should engage themselves in more feminine activities. I just thought it was so funny, because it's like, look how far we've come from that.
No, definitely. And there's still a lot of men or communities who still hold views like that.
Absolutely.
Women should not be doing this, or women should not be,
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't even, I can only speak from our like relatively liberal experience of the world, right? Like I can't speak for different countries or different cultures, different religions or whatever. So it's like from my perspective, it's changed. There's still change to happen though. There's still a lot to.
No, definitely. And I think it's important to have like conversations like this and influencers like you to kind of just unpack what this experience can be like, so that there's more awareness. So if there's harassment, call it out, and everyone can kind of be like, okay, I'm aware that this is out there. I'm aware that, because South Africa, I still feel is a very developing system when it comes to entertainment, content. We're now making movies that are on Netflix, like we're still very new in a lot of things, that if it is time to try to reshape how certain industries move, now's the perfect time to get on a live video, on a podcast, and talk about it, because that really does help. So that being the case, do you feel that, and I'm gonna ask you two more questions before we land the plane, do you feel that it's safe to make a living as a content creator full time, or should you have a side hustle here, or maybe have a full-time job but then do the content creating on the side because maybe the money is a bit slow or fluctuates? Like, do you think someone can watch this podcast at the end and be like, I want to do this for a living?
I feel like we spent 15 minutes talking about OnlyFans. But I'm not someone who's going to say, no, it's impossible. That's not in my nature to say something is not possible for you, of you being a person. So yes, absolutely, you can make a living of content creation. A lot of people do it. It's about how you do it. So if you, and we spoke about this earlier and I said I was going to say it, if you're like a young guy and you are good at Call of Duty and you switch on a camera one day and stream to Twitch, don't think that the whole world is going to want to come and watch you and give you money. It doesn't work like that. It is a little bit saturated for that now. But if you are considerate about how you do things, like you think really carefully about what is needed, how to market yourself, and again, I'm not like necessarily an expert or example on these things. I don't do all these things, but I do know them to be true. If you market yourself well, if you're filling a gap in a market, you know, where there aren't many people doing the same thing, and it doesn't even have to be anything crazy. If you're just filling a gap and you're offering something that people are going to be interested in, that's already a really good start. Then it comes in where you need to talk to brands, talk to people, network, create your brand, and like, you know, treat it like a business. It would be great if you could just, you know, fall into it, but it doesn't happen for everyone.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it's an important thing to highlight that it's one thing to start. It's a different thing to be successful at it.
Yeah.
A lot of people will start, but very few actually become profitable off of it.
Yeah, and like, look, it's fine if you just want to have fun, but if you are looking to be a content creator like full time, take it seriously and like really put work into it and do the research, make the effort.
Definitely. A lot of people think it's an easier alternative to working in an office because it's fun, but the level of discipline and consistency is a bit of the same. Like you still need to have a time where you wake up and you shoot this and you get this done by this deadline and you upload on a specific schedule and you respond to comments and you do XYZ, and it's like I'm actually working like I was in a 9-to-5. Only difference is I'm doing it for me.
Yeah, and that can be very stressful. Like I've had times where I'm like so stressed because nobody's telling me what to do, you know. Nobody's like, oh, at this time you have to do this. And I'm not saying that's all conventional jobs. It's just like, if I don't do it, no one's gonna pick up for me, you know. It's like I need to do the work. I need to not procrastinate and like, you know, reach out to people and be prepared to be disappointed and rejected and stuff, you know. So it's like, it is stressful, but the thing that makes it worth it is that you're going to be spending probably more time than your 9-to-5, but doing something that you're enjoying for yourself.
No, definitely. And the fact that this option exists is a blessing for all of you watching who actually want to do this. Like me, I plan on doing this like very, very soon.
I mean, you're doing it now.
I mean, I'm doing it, but I've never really